I'll come back to you with more questions, but I have to go to the Taj where Niranjan is reporting live from. Niranjan, over to you. What more can you share us about what's happening there on the ground?
Well, you know, Abhishek, one of the big takeaways, and it's so right, because while the MEA secretaries were speaking and the representatives of the Indian government were speaking, one of the points that were made is how in this city since the last 3 we've had the Bombay blast of 1993, when over 300 people were killed in over 14 serial blasts, 14 years ago in the hotel where this event is being held, this symbolic event. And you heard all those testimonies, Abhishek. You've been listening to each one of them, not just victims of the 26/11 terror attack, but even those Indians who've been victims of terror attacks across the world, including in countries like Belgium, etc. Now, the takeaway from here is that I think India is aggressively pushing for sanctions and pushing for action against countries that not just supply, countries that support and back the terror infrastructure. I think some of the biggest takeaways, were the mentions, the clear and direct mentions of China. Without naming China, of course, the Chinese, Chinese equipment that were used in 26/11, talking about China's backing of the terrorists and the blocking of the designation of these global terrorists. And then you had India, how since the delisting of FAT of Pakistan from the grey list became apparent since late 2020, the number of terror attacks are on the rise. I think India is aggressively pushing the UN and the global community to sort of wake up and ensure that there is some sort of a mechanism that is a mandatory on countries like Pakistan, for example, to not just pull wool over all our eyes in the global community, but to ensure that there is actually no groupism, for example, like what happens at the UN. Until 4 to 5 days back, you had China blocking the designation of another global, and they've done that again and again, from Hafiz Saeed's son to even Sajid Mir. Terrorists. I think, Abhishek, this is in asking for this UN counter here at the Taj. It's symbolic, and it means that India is aggressive to focus on these terror nations like Pakistan. Abhishek, I'm handing it over to you. You've also been listening to some of those speeches. Just to tell our viewers, some of the points that India has put very aggressively this morning here at the Taj at the UN Counter-Terror Committee meeting. They've put out proof against Pakistan point by point, from Pakistan's state-sponsored terror planning, plotting, execution of terror attacks to their terror exporting in Kashmir. They even mentioned the attacks on Kashmiri Pandits. They mentioned religious minorities. And who's in the audience? You have UN member nations, UNSC member nations, the 15 member countries, and India heading this one. It's a symbolic meeting, perhaps for the first time since 2015, if I'm not wrong, that it's held outside of Europe. And the fact that it's being held here at the Taj in Mumbai, 14 years after 26/11, is symbolic. This is making, there are several headlines that are coming out of it, Abhishek.
Oh, absolutely.